There's a cold and uncomfortable realization that hits you like an unwanted splash of water up the bum crack once you've been botanizing in Tekken 7 balance for long enough. God knows I have, and so do you, because you are the unfortunate souls who have to listen to me do it. The realization is that when this game is being updated, balance actually isn't a true goal. The developers have darlings, and the community has darlings. In fact, most of the time, they are the exact same darlings. There is a dirty ménage à trois going on between Kazuya, the people who keep playing Kazuya, and the people who keep buffing Kazuya. Before Season 4 came out, I talked about a hypothetical situation where Miguel had become so powerful and so popular that people were really tired of running into him all the time when they played online. And if true balance were being designed, there is no reason that couldn't happen, that a traditionally weak character could spend an entire season suddenly at the top, or the other way around. And I think the reason this doesn't happen is that it just rocks the boat a little bit too much and upsets the status quo. It also doesn't seem to be what the community actually wants, because a majority of players stick to these very powerful and popular characters. It ends up being a kind of chicken and egg situation. You have to ask yourself, do people love these characters because of how strong they are, or do Namco make sure to keep them strong because of how much love they get? There are many hopeless hipsters out there who do not enjoy Paul, Kazuya, Brian, Steven, Huarong, and so when we heard that the main focus of Season 4 would be a complete rebalancing, it made us very hopeful, because even though we haven't had it in the past, we thought that maybe this will finally be the time when things get shaken up in a very meaningful way. And I think a lot of people are wondering what is going to happen to the metagame of Tekken now that we are in Season 4. Well, I've spent the last couple of days playtesting every single patch note that came with the season. I've also played hundreds and hundreds of online games with multiple characters. And I can say for sure that even though there are many new fun things to enjoy inside the game, the meta, the character usage statistics, probably aren't going to change much at all. Instead, these patch notes seem to be, at least for the most part, more of exactly what we've been seeing in the past, something that I'm going to start calling token balance. And what I mean by that is, say for example that you are a dedicated Gigas main and you feel like that character is very weak. Well, for you to be placated, for you not to feel very negatively about the release of Season 4, you have to be able to go into the patch notes or into practice mode and see serious buffs to your character. And in the example of Gigas and Season 4, you do see that. But I think that is looking at it through too focused a lens, because when we talk about a metagame, we're not talking about absolute strength of characters in a vacuum. We're talking about relative strength between characters. For buffs to Gigas to really matter, they have to be big enough that he is suddenly catching up to and competing with characters that were much better than him. Or some of those much better characters have to get substantially weaker so that they go down closer to his level. Say for example that we had some sort of arbitrary point system to determine the power levels of characters in Tekken. And just to make this point, I'm going to pull one out of my ass right now. And say that in that system we call Gigas a 5 and Brian a 10. It doesn't matter if Gigas goes up to 7, if Brian's going to go up to 12, because the relative gap between the two is still 5 points. And this is what I think Namco lacked the balls and the will to do. They will not give powerful tools to these weak characters where they're suddenly able to keep up and compete with the best characters in the game, and they will never, I think, tear big meaningful chunks of power and playability away from a favorite like Brian. And again, it's important to remember that that's not what the community wants them to do either. There is an entire subculture of players, at least in my imagination, who light scented candles, put lotion in their palms, and masturbate slowly to old footage of me doing taunt jet upper in tournament. Some things in this game are sacrosanct. The electric is, Gigas is not. I think it's very revealing that the most significant changes to the meta in the last few years happened when Namco introduced new DLC characters that they would really like to sell you. Leroy and Fuck'em Rum came out and quickly became the two most represented characters at max rank in online. And it's interesting to think about how unlikely that is statistically in a game that has 50 odd characters. If you are trying to develop true balance, then that implies, as far as I'm concerned, trying to make a character like Gigas at least as strong as Devil Jin or Geese. And if you look at these Season 4 patch notes and feel like that is what Namco are truly doing, then we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. So what changes do I think will actually be happening in the meta in the new season? Well, as I said earlier, not that many. I think the most popular characters will remain the most popular characters, with some of those broken DLC characters who caught big nerfs fading a bit into the background. I also think you're going to start seeing a smattering of Bob and Lars throughout. Out of the characters that got buffed, I think these two caught the most standout and fun buffs. I think some of the Mishima playing community might bleed over a bit into Bob because he shares many similarities with that playstyle, and he also has a novelty factor. And with Lars, I think that people have been waiting for him to be good for a long time, and I think where he's at right now in Season 4, people will finally be convinced that he's now worth their time. I also want to give a big shout out to Armor King and the Armor King playing community. This character is like a ray of hope and an anomaly in character statistics because he's been considered weak for a really long time, but he's also been very popular, and I think honestly that makes him the most successful DLC character that we've ever had. I think in large part due to his popularity, he got better in Season 4, and so you're going to see even more of him, and I actually don't mind that. As for me and what I will be playing in the new season, I haven't decided yet, but you know how there's a Batgirl and a Batcave and a Batmobile? Well, it turns out that there's actually a Batmiguel, and that is fascinating to me, so it's something I will be exploring a bit more over the next few days. Thank you so much for watching this short video, and I'll see you guys again very soon.